And David, all right, David, I'm gonna take some notes over here too that I can send to you after this meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem. So I'll call to order the October 18th. It's hard to think it's already October. Broadband committee meeting or Broadband Advisory Committee board meeting. Wanted to welcome everybody in here and just wanted to go over, we can quickly go over the amendment or the agenda and see whether we have any amendments to that. Has everybody had time to look at that? All right.
Yes.
So does anybody have any alterations or things that we need to add to this or remove?
Jason, I have one that's not really an alteration, but more of an acknowledgement. I saw you and David at the Harvest Festival on Saturday, and I thought that was a great idea for you guys to be out there, and I think you should definitely be commended for being out there. I don't know how many people you stopped to talk to, but I know when I was there, it was really a good feeling to have you guys there. So I want to make sure the rest of the committee and the public at large knows that you are out there doing a great job.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Jason Jacobus showed up around 9:30 or 10 o'clock, and we ended up standing up there. We ended up having a pretty good turnout. So we had a couple people that we ended up talking to, not a ton, but and I guess David, well, that'll be covered underneath number 7. We'll go over some more information over that.
And Mike Vosberg was there as well.
Mike Vosberg showed up. Yes, he did. Yep, that's a good call out. Hopefully he got out of there just before the rain started, because he was still there when we were walking out. It wasn't long after that it started pouring down rain.
Can say that I didn't, and I'm still feeling the effects.
Oh, you didn't get out of there before it started pouring down? Oh wow.
No.
Neither did I.
Oof. All right. So real quick, I'm going to wait one quick second because Mr. Vosberg and Jason Jacobus just joined us. So just want to give you guys a chance to read over the agenda, make sure that there's nothing that you guys wanted to add or change on the agenda. Perfect. Mr. Vosberg, are you good? Okay. All right, so we will go to, I guess we'll go over the report from the August and September meeting. We did not have the minutes from the August meeting before the September meeting during the September meeting because it was so close to the Vatti grant and all, the time constraints that we had around that. So we went ahead and pushed off the minutes from the August meeting. So David, can you go over the August and September minutes, if you don't mind?
Yep, let me pull those up. Let's see, that's September. Pull it out. All right, is that screen, are the minutes being shared right now? I don't know if it shares, if I've got my screen shared or just the agenda.
I see the agenda up right now.
Okay. Let me switch that over.
I see the minutes.
All right, so anyway, let's go ahead and get started. The August Caroline County Broadband Advisory Committee was called to order at 7. On the 16th of August, Chairman Jason Barlow called the meeting to order. This meeting was held at the EOC. This was the meeting that we tried the live Zoom combo meeting, and down at the EOC. So Jason, present at the meeting, either in person or by Zoom, was Jason, Mr. Thomas, myself, Joey Robinson, Mike Fosberg, and Jeff Biku from Broadband Telecom. The agenda for the meeting was discussed. The committee approved the minutes from the July 19th meeting. Under old business, Jason described the action of Board of Supervisors approving the application for 2 applications for Vatti 2021. The action was confirmed based on the outcome of a special Board of Supervisors meeting, or will be confirmed based on the outcome of the Board of Supervisors meeting to be held on September 7th, 2021. It was also approved that based on that same meeting, Broadband Telecom will work with staff to submit the applications by the deadline. We also, I reported to the committee that in order to utilize the Vatti grants for broadband, we would need to be able to utilize the Vatti grants for the broadband expansion. And in order to do that, we needed 4 railroad crossings at key points. And Joey Schiebel had agreed to work with us on those. The committee discussed taking the strategic plan to a universal plan, coverage plan. The committee discussed the areas and the order which we should attempt to attain funding for the representative for the respective areas. The committee discussed the challenges of submitting 2 separate applications in a very short time frame. Jeff Biku advised the group that it will be a challenge, but they can get the application submitted on time. Mr. Thomas moved that the advisory committee adopt its plan for universal coverage. Joey Robinson seconded, and it was approved by the committee. The committee discussed the effects of the last-minute guidance received from DHCD. The guidance advised the localities of the $700 million to be awarded, and the fact that some will be Vatti, and the majority coming from the American Rescue Act. The committee discussed the scope of work submitted by Broadband Telecom to provide work as a consultant for Caroline County. The initial proposal from Broadband Telecom was a cost of $12,800 per month to consult for Carolina Broadband. Joey Robinson moved that we recommend to the board that we enter into the contract with Broadband Telecom. It was seconded. The motion carried to be presented to the Board of Supervisors at the September 7th meeting. Under new business, the next meeting, so our next broadband meeting will be September 20th, 2021. The meeting will be held via Zoom, and the meeting was adjourned. So that's the August.
Do we, and this is just to make sure I have this right, do we need to have a separate motion for each one, or can we just do one motion for all of them?
If there are no changes or corrections to either one of them, then you could adopt them together. So I guess
okay,
you could just ask if there are any.
Yeah, are there any changes that we need to make to the August one, or?
Not for me.
So all I have to say is in hearing that, I remember back in August and I was like, oh man, I'm hoping we can get both Vatti grants in on time and all the work that was ahead of us. So hearing that and knowing where we are today, it's a good thing to be on this side of that. I know David feels the same way.
Well, the one interesting thing was that just in August, we were still thinking that it was just going to be a dawn project at the dawn meeting. So things really went into high gear between that and our next regular meeting.
Yep.
So now we have the September 20th minutes up. Caroline County Broadband Advisory Committee was called to order at 7 p.m. on September 20th, 2021 by Chairman Jason Barlow. The meeting was held via Zoom. Present at the meeting, Jason Barlow, Floyd Thomas, David Sadler, Joey Robinson, and Mike Fosberg. The agenda for this meeting was discussed. The committee waived a reading of the minutes until next month. Under old business, the committee discussed Starlink. David Sadler advised that he had spoken with Starlink and voiced a concern of negative discussions on social media in reference to the shipping of their devices. Starlink advised that they have been affected by the worldwide chip shortage and that they are on track to start shipping to this area the end of this year or early July or early 2022. David Sadler updated the committee on Vatti 2021. Design and engineering has started. The project is on schedule to be to complete on schedule by the end of 2022. County will start receiving invoicing on this project as milestones are achieved. The committee was also advised that the areas will be served as completed, so that some areas will be ahead of others. Sales and service will not be delayed until the final completion. Vatti 2022 was discussed by the committee. Members were advised that the Board of Supervisors had adopted the recommended plan for universal coverage. It was discussed that the project had been rescoped using direction of Broadband Advisory Committee, which will include a 3-year project to request funding. This project would cover all rooftops east of 95 if money is awarded through the grant. The committee was informed that we would be submitting 2 applications. One would cover the Comcast area of Jericho Road and Anderson Mill. The second application would be submitted for a 3-year project that would cover all rooftops east of Route 95. The size of the project is massive, and at this time would rely on funding by DHCD and Vatti if funded by those 2 organizations. Mr. Thomas advised everyone that the library is currently handing out hotspots for temporary use. Under new business, David Sadler advised the group that the railroad crossings at 4 points had been included as leverage in the 2022 application. He updated the group that he had surveyed the crossings with ABB. Information had been submitted to Joseph Schiebel, and we're awaiting a response from that department. Mr. Thomas advised that he can ask the board for 2 new appointees, one for Port Royal and one for Madison. The group discussed phase 2 of Comcast. Information has been requested from planning for submission to Comcast. The group was notified that the members of this committee to assist in digital equity portion of what we have committed to in the 2022 application to Vatti. There are programs for assistance to low to moderate income, and we are planning to attend a Harvest Festival and a Frog Level Parade to distribute information on assistance programs offered by Comcast and ABB. This will address the challenge of getting the word out to persons who do not have internet access. The group discussed the county press release, highlighting the application to Vatti. The press release has been posted on the county website. The group discussed the adoption of a logo for use by the committee to promote the plan for universal coverage, etc. The group discussed using the school students to help with the design of this logo. Mr. Robinson requested that we email him the request, and he would have the graphic students to design the logo. The next meeting will be August 18th, 2021. The meeting will be held using Zoom. The meeting was adjourned.
All right. Everybody hearing the minutes for both August and September. Any changes or amendments to either one? If there's no amendments or anything, do I have a motion to accept these minutes?
Motion that the minutes are approved as read.
Okay.
Second.
All right. All in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. All right, it passed. All right. So at this point, we'll move on to old business. Ms. Upshaw, did you want to give an update on the library supplied hotspots?
Yes, sir. So if you guys don't know me, I'm Megan Upshaw. I'm the director of Caroline Library. And our update is unfortunately a little bit of a sad one. We do not currently have the hotspots yet. We have hit a big snag with our ARPA funding. Essentially, in August, we were approved, and then in the August special session of the General Assembly inserted itself into the ARPA funding program. So unfortunately, we are stuck in the General Assembly, and this is for all libraries throughout the state. The last update that we got in the middle of September was that we had no idea when the funding would become available. So unfortunately, until we can get our memorandum signed with the state and all the final things done, we are not moving forward right now anyway with purchasing the hotspots until we know that funding is committed to us. So, and that's we do have a meeting on Friday of this week. So I'm hoping that I'll have some more information from the state about when the funding will come. But other than that, we're just waiting at this point.
Megan, I do know that the memorandum of agreements with the state have to go through the Attorney General's office, just like the contract that we signed for last year's Vatti, and that sometimes takes a while. I think it took about 4 or 5 weeks for the Attorney General to sign that contract, so it put us from June to actually end of July getting those contracts signed. So if that's where it is in the process, the memorandum of agreement can take a while.
Yeah, and you figure there's 96 other libraries in this state, so I'm sure that doesn't help us with getting all that stuff moved through quickly.
If you have a second though, Megan, can you just maybe describe what the plans are if it is approved and how that program's going to work?
Sure. So we based on what we got quotes from T-Mobile, from Verizon, and we ultimately decided to go with the company Khajiit. Khajiit normally works with schools, but they also work with libraries to provide hotspots, and they can run either on the T-Mobile or the Verizon network. We chose to go with Verizon because it has some more coverage in our area. And then also because the schools run off of T-Mobile, we were hoping that we could pick up some of the people that maybe T-Mobile can't meet their demand there. Once we get them in and get them, set up in our system so that patrons can check them out, they'll just need a library card in good standing to check one out. They'll have it for 3 weeks, and then they'll need to bring it back just so we can check it over and make sure it's not damaged, that kind of thing. We're going to do holds. So if all 20 hotspots are checked out at once, a patron can put a hold on one, and as soon as one comes in, we will send it to them. And we're working with the county about some other things as far as, what do we do if they get lost? What will charges be? Things like that. But hopefully we won't have any issues with that like that.
So Megan, they'll be available at all the different branches?
Yes. We'll have, more at our busier branches at Ladysmith and at Bowling Green, but because we can put them on hold, we can send them to any of the branches based on where they're needed. So.
Ms. Upshaw. Go ahead, Mr. Thomas.
Well, thank you. Megan, do you recall what the total cost was? Was it around $20,000 for the 20 hotspots or less?
It was less than that. I believe with the 20 hotspots plus the year of service, it was close to, I want to say $8,000 or $9,000.
Okay. I have wanted this project to happen for quite some time, and I think I talked to you directly about getting it started and see if we could make it work. I wonder if we should wait for a grant through the state, which may take a little bit longer, and maybe Mr. Seeley and I can both ask the rest of the board to appropriate money, and then if we get funds, we can replace that. But I think we need to do something as soon as possible. Okay. So that's why I wanted to make sure I knew the total cost.
Mm-hmm. I can forward that information to you when I get back to my desk at work tomorrow morning.
Okay, and I'm sure you have given it to me already. I just didn't recall, but that's a close enough ballpark to know what we can do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Megan, I would like to thank you personally on behalf of the committee for coming in at a fairly short notice to bring us all up to speed on that. We do appreciate it. And we also are looking forward to part of the grant application process. We had to commit to, again, the public information side of it, and the public training of the public in the areas that are receiving the grant. And so we look forward to working with you, and we want to make ourselves as a committee available to you to assist in training the public. One of the things that we had discussed is a Facebook Live event, since we know that a lot of people that don't have internet access do have access to Facebook via their mobile phone. So we would like to at least open the door to collaborate with you guys on that event, and hopefully we can get the word out to the public, safe use of computers, how to watch out for scams, things of that sort. So we would like to make ourselves available to you, and hopefully we can team up and have a good event with a lot of attendees.
That sounds great.
Ms. Upshaw, I did have a quick question for you, or two of them. Do you know whether these hotspots will have limits on the amount of data that can be used during those 3 weeks that the people have them checked out?
They are unlimited data, but we
Okay.
will, because of the funding coming from the federal pool, they will have to have the SIPA filters, which, so child protection, so it's
Okay.
no pornography, that kind of thing, which we have on our library computers anyway. So that's about the only thing. We probably won't allow streaming services because of how the funding was set up on the federal side. They asked that it only be used for educational, workforce development, that kind of thing. So you can kind of make YouTube and things like that work, but it's kind of harder to explain, like, oh yes, you definitely need Netflix for workplace development. So
Okay. And as far as renewing these hotspots, my wife works at the school, so she tells me about the hotspots that they have there in the library. Are they going to be able to renew these hotspots on the spot? So if they've got it for 3 weeks, they come back in. If it's not spoken for or reserved, somebody would be able to renew it for the next 3 weeks, or would they have to have a cool down period in between for those?
well, we're going to start off with a cool down period of a day,
Okay.
just to make sure that in case we have a huge demand, if we need to set it up and then end up buying more hotspots and things like that. But if it turns out that either we get enough hotspots that we have extras, not necessarily extras, but ones sitting around, we'll reconsider that.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay. If that's it, thank you. You're welcome to stick around if you want.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me.
Not a problem. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So we'll go down to the next one. I'm guessing this would be you, David, on the update on the 2021 Vatti process or progress.
So we just had recently, I think last week, the managers meeting for the Vatti 2021. We have now received confirmation from ABB that the design and engineering for all of Caroline has now been completed. So with that, we know now that they will start working on the transmission line from King George over to the Port Royal area, probably any time now. And we're still on track for construction actually beginning, or equipment starting to roll in January to the different areas. So we'll start seeing a lot more activity. With the design and engineering piece of it finished, that is their first milestone. The way it's working out, they're going to wait until all 4 of the jurisdictions have met that first milestone before we submit a bill, or they submit a bill to us. So Caroline County will be probably receiving its first bill the first week of December. By then, all 4 jurisdictions will have all of their design and engineering complete. So everything's on track. At this point, we still don't have any effects from the chip shortage. Everything appears to be rolling along, but there is the possibility that either chip shortage or manpower shortage could have an effect on it somewhere down the road. But as of right now, we're on track to finish on time. And that's estimated to be probably December of next year. They should be completed ahead of the actual January, February deadline. So right now, everything's looking good.
Sure. Any questions? All right. Here are no questions. We'll move on down to the next one, which is the Vatti 2022 update.
The applications have been submitted, and I think, Jason, you had some information that you had received that you wanted to share.
Yeah, I had a little bit information that I received. I'm pulling up the image on my phone because I took a picture just in case they changed. And as of today, I didn't see any changes on their website. So we met the September 14th deadline, which is when the application was due. October 21st is the next, or the 21st of September was the next big date, which is they had to have the applications all posted up on the website. On October 21st is the next due date, which is just around the corner, which is when they have their challenges to any of the Vatti grants due. So that'll be the next one. And that's dealing, correct me if I'm wrong, David, that's around companies that say, oh, we already serve this area with high-speed internet, or any challenges to the what areas that are going to be served and by who, correct?
That is correct. So unless we have another provider whom we didn't list on the application that's in that area, then the challenges would not be valid. So,
okay. Then the next due date would be October 28th, which is when DHCD notifies the applicants of any challenges. Then we would have until November 18th to do a rebuttal against said challenge, if there was one against our application. And then December 3rd, the DHCD would notify us of the decision made, or the determination about the challenge. And then this last one is a very big one, which is late December applicant announcements of awards. Or I'm sorry, anticipated announcements of award. So they are hoping to announce late December is what they have on their website, hopefully the awards. So hopefully before we go into the 2022 year, we will know who the winners of the awards are and what the amounts they were funded for. So that would be a nice end of the year present. Any questions on that? All right. If not, we'll push into the railroad crossing update.
all right. So we had requested from Mr. Schiebel with Public Works some numbers as far as what it would cost to establish 4 railroad crossings. And he has gotten back with the first step, which is the design of the railroad crossing, which would include field survey of all 4 sites, develop the plans, sections, details, and specifications of that crossing, and then submit it to the railroad and address any comments that they would have. the fees to the engineers and the surveyors and all that would be required to submit those comes back at $7,500 per passing for a total of $30,000. That's required basically before we go any further. The next step after those are received, then we could go out for bid. We would come back, there would be additional costs from the contractors for actually establishing those crossings. And then also in addition to whatever those fees would be, there's an additional 14, let's see, let me make sure I give you the right numbers. $1,450 per passing that would be due to the railroad for the application fee. So we would be looking at $30,000 that we kind of need, that we would need to get appropriated, now, I guess, so that we can go ahead and start working on that part, knowing that there'll be a $1,450 per passing, due later on when we actually submit the application. And what we don't know and we won't know until we get the survey and go out for bid is what that actual cost is going to be to the actual construction. So, and that's all the information we have at this point.
Trying to think how we want to handle that. Is that something that either Mr. Seeley or Mr. Thomas could, or I guess let me rephrase that. Does the committee need to vote on, moving forward with this? I guess this is in the Vatti grant for 2022 that we're going to have these crossings. So we've basically already agreed to it. Do we just need to have you guys take it back to the Board of Supervisors and get that money appropriated, or how do we need to handle this?
Well, we voted back in May or June to go ahead and begin working on this. So it's already been voted on by us that we recommend that we do this. So I don't think another vote is necessary by this committee to recommend it. The only question is, and this is a question for Mr. Thomas or Mr. Seeley, how do we, what would be the next logical step for us to move forward to get the money appropriated?
We just need to put it on the Board of Supervisors agenda. And I think we
need to have Charlie make sure that we can, and I think we can use the money that's in the American Rescue Act to actually do this.
All right, so I will follow up with Mr. Parton and go ahead and start the process of getting that put on the next board meeting agenda, and with the question that Mr. Seeley has as well, and I'm sure Alan will question that as well. So I'll go ahead tomorrow and take action, reach out to those people and we'll work on getting it on the next agenda.
And I think, David, it's something the Board of Supervisors had said they wanted to do. So it may be something that Alan can put on the consent agenda.
Okay, I'll mention that to him as well. All right, thank you.
All right, I'm a little bit slower moving to the next thing. I'm trying to keep notes going here. Do we want to, we'll go ahead and move on now to the membership of the committee. The board did approve adding 2 new members to the Broadband Advisory Committee. And I believe, David, you told me that we have 1 member that has been appointed and has accepted, and 1 position still open in one of the districts. Is that correct?
Yes. So Mrs. Long at the last Board of Supervisors meeting appointed or moved that the Board of Supervisors appoint John Street, and Mr. Street accepted. We accepted him, and then the board voted to make that appointment. He is on board. Unfortunately, he's unable to attend tonight. We're in the process of getting him set up so that hopefully we'll see him at the next meeting. Still working with Mr. Forehand on an appointment for his district. And so, again, just an invitation, open invitation, anybody who may be watching this video, if you're interested in being part of the Broadband Advisory Committee, please reach out, let us know. The contact information is on the website, so you can get that information over to us and we'll be glad to talk to you. But we're definitely in need of an appointee from the Madison district.
And David, we were also looking for an appointee from the Western Carolina District too.
Okay, I was unaware of that one in particular. So, and I actually have a name of someone who reached out and is possibly interested in that one. So I'll get that information to Mr. Black if he needs some input. Great. And the point again is we need any and everybody who's willing to serve on that. We just wanted to make sure there was at least one person from each election district to make sure they would at least present the concerns of that district.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to Comcast Phase 2 update.
So I've been working with Tyler Digg from planning again, poor Tyler. And we've requested the address list of all addresses west of 95. He's in the process of doing that, but he's also in the process of doing a lot of work on the voting redistricting, which I believe is a priority at this point. So as soon as he gets some time, he's going to produce an address list of all addresses west of 95, which we can provide to Comcast using their database of their current footprint as well as the possible footprint down on Jericho and Anderson Mill. They can subtract those addresses and provide us with an accurate list of all addresses that we need to serve west of 95. And then based on the number we get, that would be our Comcast Phase 2. So at this time, we're waiting on a response back from planning, and there's no further action to report at this time.
Okay. Any questions on that from anybody? All right. We'll move down to number 7, the Digital Equity Public Awareness Campaign.
Jason, you can take this one since you're part of it.
That'll work. I didn't want to step on your toes since you're used to talking to us the entire meeting, so I didn't want to take that away from you. So on Saturday, as Mr. Thomas pointed out earlier, Mr. Sadler, Mr. Jacobus, and Mr. Vosberg and myself represented the Broadband Advisory Committee, and we did have Mr. Frank Beal stop by and talk us into going down and getting some ice cream to help cool off on that nice day. But we did represent the committee up there. We did talk to several people while up there. Since this was our first one, we took this as a learning opportunity and kind of figured out what would be our best avenue for the next one of these, which will be at the Frog Level Parade. We didn't feel like we had a lot of attention getters to where people knew 100% why we were there, to draw people in, to ask questions, and to ask questions from us. We had flyers to hand out. We approached some people. They also approached us. So for the one in Frog Level, we are going to have more poster boards. We have purchased a actual tablecloth so that way it looks more inviting. And we will have the same flyers. We also have shirts that we are hoping that will arrive before next week or before the next Saturday, so that way we can have shirts to represent there, to draw people in and ask questions. we just want to be able to get the word out and get the information out to the constituents of Caroline County and help answer any questions that they might have, or help direct them to any information that they might need on the digital equity from both Comcast and or Atlantic Broadband. Did that pretty much cover it, David?
Yep. And one contact that I was able to make on Saturday was the manager of a large housing complex on the western side of the county. They have some public assistance folks that rent from their apartment. So I was able to get her the information so that she could disseminate the Comcast information out to either residents or potential residents down the road, so we can get it out that way. The other thing that we discussed as another way to try to get the word out is we'll get the information down to social services so that they can disseminate it through their contact with the public. And again, under digital equity, the programs that we're showing will eventually apply if federal funding still exists to the projects that we've got going on. But the main push right now is to get this information out to people who are in areas that are currently served by either Atlantic Broadband or by Comcast, that there is assistance available that will help cover installation as well as the monthly cost. For example, the cost for Comcast is no installation fee, $9.95 a month for a basic internet connection. And I believe ABB offers up to $50 credit on the monthly fee. So there is assistance available if someone is in an area that is currently served. In other words, they will not run this to a new house that's a mile down the road from Comcast service. But if you're in that area that has service currently and you just cannot afford to pay for the installation of the monthly fees, there are programs to help give you assistance and get broadband to your house at speeds that would be capable of people working from home or telemedicine or schoolwork, kids' homework and that kind of stuff. So again, if you know anybody that would benefit from this information, again, I make myself available to board members if they would like us to talk about it at a constituents meeting. We're more than happy to do that. Any opening comments that can be mentioned in a board meeting is appreciated. Just any way we can get the word out. We're just looking for any other suggestions. If anybody on this committee has a suggestion, we've also talked about the big Facebook Live event that we would partner probably with the library system. And that may be a little more push towards internet safety, but at that same time, we have Nathan Doherty from Comcast who's willing to attend that event and discuss their digital equity offerings for the public. This is a requirement of this 2022 application that we just submitted, as well as the 2021 application that we submitted last year. So we're kind of required to do this as we agreed to in those applications.
Okay. Any questions? All right. County website update.
Yep. So since the last meeting, we now have a copy of the strategic plan as well as the plan for universal coverage PowerPoint presentation that was presented to the board on the September the 7th meeting. That's up there. Again, right now, that document as well as the press release for the application for 2022 are acting as a placeholder, which we plan to get membership of this committee up there as well. And contact information, hyperlinks to the assistance programs, different things like that. So eventually it will be a full sub-site of the Caroline County site, but it is on the county's website at this point.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas, for staying on me until we got that done.
All right. Any questions around that? Anybody have any questions, cares, comments? All right. The next one is the logo for the universal broadband coverage. Mr. Joey, do you have any update on that? Or I know you sent me an email back. Did you want to talk on that real quick?
Sure. I reached out to the department at the high school after you sent me within the last meeting, a day or two after the sketch you drew, and presented it to the department at the high school. They informed me that it was that homecoming time and they would get around to it after that because there's some other events going on. Since then, the art department has reached out to students, and so far there hasn't been any interest from students to take on that project. They are going to reach out to some more students this week and hopefully get back to me with an update.
Okay. Thank you for taking care of that and running that down for us. I greatly appreciate that.
Sure, no problem.
Mr. Sealer, Mr. Thomas, is there anything we can, and this is just a question, anything that we can do to incentivize participation? Or
I just thought of that. If we have to offer a prize for the students to come up with the best one, we did that quite a few years ago, and I don't know who knows it, but the whale that's in the economic development office has a name called Spouticus, which was done by the school. So I think we gave them a dinner somewhere for the student and their parents. Maybe we could do something like that again.
okay.
Or Joey, maybe the schools can make their own offer like that.
Yeah, I'm surprised the schools don't want to weigh in on this.
Yeah, I'd like to see something come out from, somebody from within inside the community, and, and maybe if somebody's listening to this presentation and they have an artistic background and they want to, send something out, maybe we can take that under advisement too. I would just really like to see somebody from, Caroline County come up with a logo for this and go forward. So I came up with a very bad sketch, so I sent that one out. Mine doesn't count.
You're not eligible to win the $50 gift certificate.
Oh man!
Anyway, so.
But I like your sketch though. It was really good.
I like it. I think you'd probably win with it. But.
Oh man!
Yeah, if you could just draw a house, you'd be in good shape.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
that's another story.
Okay.
I would say that was presented to the department as well. Your sketch was to just kind of clean it up a little bit and make it, because it was a good idea. So it's not out of the question.
Okay. I'll have Joey submit that one in, take care of it for us. So since I'm not eligible for the prize, so no. Okay. Well, hopefully we'll get something back before next one. Joey, if you get anything back from them between now and the next meeting, just let me know.
Sure.
And,
absolutely.
We'll go from there.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Any questions on that from anybody else? Okay. We'll move on to the alternate sources of funding update.
So after our last meeting, I did meet with Jeff and Tyler Viku from Broadband Telecom, and they are actively working to identify alternate sources of funding. There is another source of funding that falls under infrastructure, which we may qualify for. That's under the American Rescue Act. Of course, the infrastructure bill is still hung up in Congress, and there's probably going to be some funding that comes along with that, or possibly. So they are working. We've got a contact with the department that's handling that project. And so we have plans to meet with that person and find out more details in an upcoming meeting. Some of the sources of funding that they've identified, we've already participated in, or the dates have passed. So they're continuing to look for any sources of funding that would help replace that contribution that we're making from county funds. Now, I'll be sure to keep this committee up to date if we make further progress.
Okay. Thank you, David. Anybody have any questions or comments on that? All right. Now we can cross over into new business. We really only have two big things on the new business, and one of them I had talked to David about it and put on there, and that was around the solar projects effect on broadband. I know that we've had several conversations in the past. I know Mr. Seeley, you and I had a conversation just off the cuff, after one of the meetings, Board of Supervisors meetings, about some of the solar projects requiring broadband in order to monitor the services and anything else. Has there been any conversation with them on helping provide broadband, or maybe them funding a certain piece of, trying to help out with that, or how does that work?
I don't know that we're far enough along to know that yet.
Okay.
We haven't even had the first hearing at the Planning Commission yet.
Okay. All right. We can follow up on that once things get further down the road. It was just something that was crossing my mind on, the data that they're going to need to flow back and forth. Maybe they could somehow help out, or, maybe something that we can, think about further down the road.
You have a work session next Tuesday, and maybe that's something we could have staff look at between now and then.
Okay. Well, thank you. Well, really, that's the only other new business that I had, or that, was on the agenda. Does anybody have anything? I know we've already gone over amendments to the agenda, but maybe somebody's thought of something between now and then. Or is that the only new business that we had this time? All right. Hearing nothing else, I guess we need to take a look at our next meeting. It's hard to believe that we're going into November now.
Third Monday in November would be November 15th.
Correct.
That is the week prior to Thanksgiving, so that would probably be good to stay away from that week, I would think.
Unless Mr. Thomas is inviting us over for dinner that night for Thanksgiving, or Mr. Seeley.
Oh, I'd be happy to.
That's where we'll host the next one, is right before Thanksgiving. Okay. All right, so we'll just say the 15th, and we will do via Zoom again. Is everybody okay with that? Okay. Hearing nothing else, we'll just say we will reconvene on November 15th at 7 o'clock via Zoom. And
Mr. Chairman, I
yes,
would move that we adjourn.
All right. Any seconds to that?
I second that.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and we will see you back on November 15th.